Hello class, for this video we will be discussing constant rule, power rule, constant multiple rule, and sum and difference rules. These are all topics in differential calculus. First rule is called as constant rule. The derivative of a constant function is 0. That is, if it is a real number, then the derivative with respect to x of our constant is equivalent to 0. So, apply natin yan. We have here our example. Differentiate the following functions. Letter A, we have y is equivalent to 7. So, there are a lot of representation in differentiating a function. Pwede nating isulat na the derivative with respect to x of our function, which is y, is equivalent to, pwede ding y prime. Ibig sabihin, pag may prime is the derivative or the first derivative of that function. Pwede ding dy over dx of our function, which is 7. So, ikaw bahala saan sa tatlo. That is just a representation that we are differentiating our function. So, as stated kanina, the derivative with respect to x of our constant is equivalent to 0. Ibig sabihin, 7 is a constant, so therefore, our answer here is 0. Final answer. Letter B, we have the function of x is equivalent to 0. So, lagay natin dito f of x. Lagyan natin ng prime. Ibig sabihin, the derivative of our f of x is equivalent to 0. Kasi the derivative of 0 is 0 also. Final answer. Letter C, we have s of t is equivalent to negative 3. So, hahanapin natin yung kayang derivative. We have s prime of t is equivalent to 0 because the derivative of a constant, which is negative 3, is 0. Final answer. Proceed tayo sa letter D. Y is equivalent to k pi squared. Take note that yung k natin dito is also a constant. So therefore, pi is also a constant. So lagay natin y prime is equivalent to 0. Final answer. Last, letter E, we have the function of x is equivalent to the square root of 5. So take note, square root of 5 is also a constant. Therefore, f prime of x, ibig sabihin, the derivative of our f of x is equivalent to 0. Final answer. Next rule class is called as the power rule. If n is a rational number, then the function f of x is equivalent to x raised to n is differentiable, and the derivative with respect to x of our x raised to n is equivalent to n x raised to n minus 1. Ibig sabihin, n multiplied by x. For f to be differentiable at x is equivalent to 0, n must be a number such that x raised to n minus 1 is defined on an interval containing 0. So let us have our example. Differentiate the following functions. Letter A, we have y is equivalent to x. Take note class, yung ating formula is the derivative with respect to x of x raised to n is equivalent to n multiplied by x raised to n minus 1. So, ibig sabihin nito, first thing that we need to do is to determine kung ano yung ating x and ano yung ating n. So, for this one, x po natin is equivalent to sino yung merong exponent. So, for this one, si x yung may exponent na 1. So, yung x natin is si x. Next thing is our n. N natin is our exponent. So, therefore, that is 1. So, isubstitute na lang po natin lahat sa ating formula. Lagay natin dito the derivative with respect to x of our function, which is x, is equivalent to, pwede ding dy over dx, pwede ding y prime. Again, that is just a representation. So, gamitin natin yung formula. N po natin is 1. 1. Ang x po natin is x. So, x. n po natin ulit is 1 minus 1. Next thing that we need to do is to simplify. So, simplify natin. 1 multiplied by x is x. 1 minus 1 is 0. So, take note class, x raised to 0, ibig sabihin that is equivalent to 1. And that is our final answer. So, patunayan natin class na x raised to 0 is equivalent to 1. Take note that x divided by x, ibig sabihin yan class is x 1 minus 1. Diba? Because as we all know, 1 divided by x raised to m is equivalent to x raised to negative m. Pag ililipat natin to sa itaas. So, ibig sabihin ito, x raised to 1, then ito lipat natin sa itaas, magiging multiplied by x raised to negative 1. So, magiging x 1 minus 1. So, therefore, magiging x raised to 0. Or pwede ding cancel out, that is equivalent to 1. So, the same lang sa ating sagot. For our letter V, we have f of x is equivalent to x cubed. So, same steps po yung gagamitin natin. First is define our x. Sino yung may exponent? Si x. So, lagay natin x is equivalent to x. Next is what is our exponent n? That is equivalent to 3. So, lagay natin dito f prime of x. Ibig sabihin, the derivative of f of x. Again, ikaw bahala saan dito yung gagamitin mo. That is just a representation. That is equivalent to, lagay natin n natin is 3. X natin is x. N natin is 3 minus 1. Next thing is simplify po natin class, magiging 3x squared. And I think hindi na to masisimplify, that is our final answer. For our letter C, we have g of x is equivalent to the cube root of x. Take note class, pag naka-radical, hindi natin yan ma-differentiate. We need to transform this one into a fraction form na exponent. And as we can recall sa ating algebra, we have the nth root of x raised to m is equivalent to x raised to m divided by n. Ibig sabihin, yung ating nth root, magiging denominator lang sa ating exponent na fraction. So, i-rewrite natin class, this is equivalent to x raised to m. Ang m natin dito is 1. Divided by our denominator is 3, our nth root. So, proceed tayo. Yung ating x dito, yung may exponent, si x. And then, yung ating exponent, which is si n, is equivalent to 1/3. So, proceed tayo sa differentiating. We have g prime of x, or also called as the derivative of our function g of x, is equivalent to n po natin is 1/3. X po natin is x. N po natin is 1/3 minus 1. And then simplify natin. We have 1/3 x. 1/3 minus 1 is equivalent to, let us use our calculator. We have 1/3 minus 1 equals negative 2/3. Sulat natin, negative 2/3. So, kung ayaw mo magamit ng calculator, we have 3 multiplied by 1 is 3, minus 1 is 2. So, negative 2/3. Take note class, sa ating final answer, dapat walang negative na exponent. So, balikan natin. Sa ating algebra, we have x raised to the power of negative m. Pwede natin siyang ilagay sa ilalim, magiging 1 over x raised to positive m. So, lagay natin to, magiging 1 over 3x raised to the power of positive 2/3. And that is our final answer. For our letter D, we have y is equivalent to 1 over x squared. So again, we cannot differentiate this one kasi nasa baba yung ating variable. So, rewrite muna natin, class. Take note. Ito, we have 1 over x raised to m, magiging x raised to negative m. So, eto rewrite natin magiging x to the power of negative 2 kasi tinransfer natin sa itaas. So, next thing that we need to do is to define our x, that is x. Kasi siya yung may exponent. Next is our n, that is equivalent to negative 2 because that is our exponent. Let us proceed in differentiating. We have y prime. Ibig sabihin that is the derivative of your y is equivalent to n, that is negative 2, x, that is x, n, that is negative 2 minus 1. Simplify po natin, class, magiging negative 2 x to the power of negative 3. So, sabi ko sa inyo, dapat walang negative sa ating exponent sa final answer. So, gagamitin natin to. Itong negative 3, ibababa natin, magiging negative 2 divided by x to the power of positive 3. So, as you can see, yung variable lang bumaba, hindi kasali yung negative 2. Kasi this is a constant. So, this will be our final answer. Our third rule, class, is called as constant multiple rule. Ibig sabihin, yung ating rule kanina, which is the power rule, dadagdagan lang natin ng constant sa kanyang front. Ibig sabihin, if f is a differentiable function and c is a real number, then cf is also differentiable and the derivative with respect to x of our constant function of x is equivalent to constant f prime of x, or the derivative with respect to x of our cx raised to n is equivalent to c n x raised to n minus 1. So, nadagdagan lang tayo ng constant sa harapan ng ating function. So, here are our examples. Differentiate the following functions. Letter A is y is equivalent to 5x cubed. So, as stated kanina, yung ating formula is the derivative with respect to x of constant x raised to n is equivalent to constant n x raised to the power of n minus 1. So, same process po yung gagamitin natin kanina. Constant natin is equivalent to yung nasa harapan, which is si 5. X natin, yung merong exponent, which is si x. And then, yung ating n, which is the exponent, is 3. Proceed tayo, y prime. Ibig sabihin, the derivative of our y is equivalent to, gamitin natin yung formula, c natin or constant is 5. N natin or yung exponent is 3. X natin or yung may exponent is x. And minus 1, so that is 3 minus 1. Simplify natin, class, that is equivalent to 5 times 3 is 15. X raised to the power of 3 minus 1 is squared. So this will be our final answer. Given sa ating letter B, y is equivalent to 2 divided by x. So again, class, hindi natin to madi-differentiate kasi nasa baba yung ating variable. So we need to rewrite this one. Take note, we have 1 divided by x raised to m is equivalent to x raised to the power of negative m. Ibig sabihin, yung x natin is ililipat natin sa itaas, magiging 2 x raised to the power of negative 1 because the constant for this one is 1. Siyempre, define muna natin si constant, that is 2. X natin, yung may exponent, which is si x. And then, yung ating n, which is its exponent, is negative 1. So, sundan natin yung formula natin, class. C is 2. N is negative 1. X is x. N is negative 1 minus 1. Simplify natin. Magiging 2 multiplied by negative 1 is negative 2. X, negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. Again, class, for our final answer, alisin natin yung ating exponent na negative, x raised to the power of negative m, pwede natin siyang i-transfer sa baba, magiging x to the power of m. So, eto magiging negative 2 divided by x to the power of positive 2. And this will be our final answer. Take note class, this is just the same if yung negative natin is nasa gitna. Ayan. So, eto tsaka eto is just the same final answer. Letter C, we have the function of t is equivalent to 40 squared over 5. So, for this one class, rewrite muna natin para mas klaro yung constant natin, 4 over 5 t squared. So, this is just the same. Sineparate lang natin yung constant. So, next step is to identify our constant that is equivalent to 4 over 5. Next is our x, yung may exponent, which is t. And next one is our exponent n, which is equivalent to 2. Let's proceed. F prime of t, ibig sabihin the derivative of our function t is equivalent to, constant natin is 4 over 5. Sundan lang natin to. N natin is 2. Ang x po natin dito is t. And then n is 2 minus 1. Simplify. 4 over 5 multiplied by 2, ibig sabihin 4 times 2 is 8 over 5. Pwede mo namang i-calculator if hindi ka sure. The next is t raised to 1. So, pwede na natin yung burahin yung 1. Understood na yan na may exponent na 1. Then, this is our final answer. Take note, class, 8 over 5t is just the same with 8t over 5. So, pwedeng ito yung sagot mo. Letter D, we have y is equivalent to 2 square root of x. We cannot differentiate this one kasi naka-radical siya. So, i-write muna natin using this formula. The nth root of our x raised to m is equivalent to x raised to m divided by n. So, gagawin nating fraction yung ating exponent. Magiging equivalent to 2x. Take note that pag square root is 2, then ito is 1. So, magiging 1 over 2 yung ating exponent. So, let us identify our constant, which is 2, yung nasa harap. X po natin, class, is x, yung may exponent. Then, yung exponent natin, which is si n, is 1/2. Proceed tayo in differentiating. Y prime is equivalent to, sundan natin yung formula natin. Constant natin is 2. N natin is 1/2. X natin is x. N natin is 1/2 minus 1. So, simplify po natin, class. 2 multiplied by 1/2 is 1. Pwede mo ding i-calculator para sure. X, 1/2 minus 1 is negative 1/2. Again, pwede mo din siyang i-calculator para sure ka. So, that is equivalent to, simplify natin, alisin natin yung negative, ita-transfer natin sa baba. Take note, x to the power of negative m is equivalent to 1 over x to the power of positive m. So, eto, ilipat natin sa baba, magiging x to the power of positive 1/2. And this will be our final answer. Or, pwede ding ibalik natin siya into radical form. X raised to 1/2 is the square root of x. Final answer. There are some other books, class, that hindi daw pwede yung merong square root sa baba or radical sa baba. So, we need to rationalize daw. But again, dito sa ating subject, differential calculus, okay lang naman na merong radical sa baba. Pwedeng may square root, cube root sa baba. Or pwedeng may exponent na naka-fraction sa baba. But what if wala talaga sa choices yung ating sagot? So, we need to rationalize. So, yung process natin dyan, lagay natin 1 over the square root of x. Ang gagawin lang natin is to multiply yung numerator tsaka denominator natin ng square root of x. So, that is equivalent to 1 multiplied by square root of x is square root of x. divided by square root of x multiplied by square root of x is magiging x. So, final answer. So, para sa akin, pwedeng ito, pwede naman ding ito. That is all correct. So, for our last example for this rule, we have y is equivalent to 1 divided by 2 multiplied by the cube root of x squared. So, we cannot differentiate this one, class. We need to rewrite first. So, ilagay natin dito, the nth root of x raised to m is equivalent to x raised to m divided by n. Then also, 1 over x raised to m is equivalent to x raised to the power of negative m. So, eto, rewrite natin, class, magiging 1 divided by 2 multiplied by x raised to 2 over 3. Then, eto, ilagay natin sa itaas, magiging x raised to 2/3, which is magiging negative divided by 2. Pwede din nating i-separate yung over 2 para mas clear yung ating constant. Magiging 1/2 x raised to the power of negative 2/3. So let's proceed in identifying our constant that is equivalent to 1/2. Next is yung may exponent, which is dito, si x is x. And then yung exponent natin, n, is equivalent to negative 2/3. So proceed tayo, y prime, ibig sabihin the derivative of our y is equivalent to, constant natin, class, is 1/2. N natin, class, is negative 2/3. And then yung ating x is x also. Then n is negative 2/3 minus 1. Next, simplify natin. That is equivalent to 1/2 times negative 2/3. Magiging negative 2 over 6. Again, pwede mo niyang i-calculator. X raised to the power of negative 2/3 minus 1. That is negative 5 over 3. Pwede mo ulit i-calculator if hindi ka sure. Tapos, simplify natin, class, that is equivalent to, etong 2 over 6, masisimplify siya. 2 divided by 6 is magiging 1/3. So, magiging negative 1, then third. Tapos, take note that x raised to the power of negative m, pwede mo siyang ilagay sa baba, magiging x to the power of positive m. So, eto, magiging x to the power of 5 over 3. Final answer. So, take note, nilipat natin sa baba kasi for our final answer, dapat walang negative na exponent. The last rules that we will be discussing in this video is called as the sum and difference rules. The sum or difference of two differentiable functions f and g is itself differentiable. Moreover, the derivative of f plus g or f minus g is the sum or difference of the derivatives of f and g. So, ibig sabihin yan, class, we just need to differentiate our function individually. Kumbaga, mind your own business. Tapos, i-copy lang natin yung ating sign convention. Kung positive is positive, kung negative is negative. Let us try with our first example. Differentiate the following function. F of x is equivalent to x cubed minus 4x plus 5. So, ibig sabihin lahat ng ating formulas kanina magagamit po natin. And then sabi ko kanina, if we have different functions, we just need to differentiate them individually, then copy lang natin yung kanilang mga sign convention. So, for this one, uunahin muna natin si x cubed. So, for that one, we will be using constant multiple rule. That is the derivative with respect to x of our constant x raised to n is equivalent to constant n x n minus 1. So, tingnan natin, constant is equivalent to 1 kasi may 1 dyan. Next, x natin is x. Katapos, yung ating n exponent is 3. So, differentiate natin siya. F prime of x is equivalent to, constant natin is 1. N natin is 3. X natin is X, then N is 3 minus 1. So, mamaya na natin siya i-simplify. Proceed tayo dito sa kabila. Copy natin si negative. Lagay natin negative, then 4x. Take note, we will be using our constant multiple rule for that one. So, this is its formula also. So, lagay natin dito, constant natin is 4. X natin is X. And then yung exponent ng ating X is 1. So, therefore, N is equivalent to 1. Proceed po tayo. Constant natin is 4. N natin is 1. X natin is X. Then, N natin ulit is 1 minus 1. Tapos, copy natin yung ating sign convention plus. Tapos, proceed tayo dito sa third one. Take note, 5 is a constant, so we will be using constant rule for this one. That is the derivative with respect to x of any constant is equivalent to 0. Ibig sabihin, the derivative of 5 is 0. So let us proceed in simplifying class. That is equivalent to 1 times 3 is 3. X to the power of 3 minus 1 is 2. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. X to the power of 1 minus 1 is 0. So, simplify natin ulit. Magiging 3x squared, negative 4. X raised to 0 is 1. So, negative 4 times 1 is just negative 4 pa rin. So, this will be our final answer, which is the derivative of our f of x. So, for our letter B, we have g of x is equivalent to negative x raised to 4 over 2 plus 3x cubed minus 2x. So, again, if we have sum and difference rule, we just need to differentiate them individually. So, ang gagamitin natin dito kay number 1, number 2, and number 3 is all constant multiple rule. So, sulat natin si formula, the derivative with respect to x of a constant x raised to n is equivalent to constant nx raised to n minus 1. So, unahin natin to. Constant natin dito, class, is positive 1/2. Take note dito, g prime of x is equivalent to negative. Copy lang natin yung negative dito. So, constant natin is 1/2. Next, we have x po natin is x. Kasi siya yung may exponent. Pagkatapos, yung ating n dito is 4. So, for this one, constant natin is equivalent to 3. Ang x natin is x kasi siya yung may exponent. And then, yung ating n dito is equivalent to 3. How about this one? Ang constant natin is equivalent to 2. Ang x natin is equivalent to x because x raised to the power of 1 to. And then, yung ating n dito is equivalent to 1. Okay, proceed po tayo. Negative. Then, yung formula natin, constant is 1/2. N natin is 4. X natin dito is x. And then, n minus 1 is 4 minus 1. Proceed tayo dito. Copy natin si positive. So, positive. Tingnan natin yung guide natin. Constant natin is 3. Andito na tayo. Ito yung tapos na. N natin is 3 also. X natin is x. Then, n is 3 minus 1. So, let's proceed. Ito, copy natin si negative. So, negative. Dito na tayo. So, constant po natin is 2. N natin is 1. X natin is x. So, 1 minus 1. So, nasulat na natin lahat. Simplify na lang po natin. Negative 1/2 times 4 is negative 2. Pwede mo ding i-calculator. X raised to 4 minus 1 is 3. Plus 3 times 3 is 9. Then x raised to the power of 3 minus 1 is 2. And then negative 2. x raised to 1 minus 1 is 0. X raised to 0 is 1. Ibig sabihin, cancel out lang yan. Negative 2. And this will be our final answer, which is the derivative of the function g of x. So let us proceed with our last example for this video. We have letter C. Y is equivalent to 3x squared minus x plus 1 divided by x. So eto class, hindi muna natin to madi-differentiate kasi meron tayong x sa baba. Ibig sabihin, isimplify muna natin siya by dividing every variable dito ng x natin. So lagay natin dito, y is equivalent to 3x squared divided by x minus x divided by x plus 1 divided by x. So simplify natin ulit. That is y is equivalent to 3x squared divided by x. Ibig sabihin, cancel out, magiging 3x na lang. Minus x divided by x, that is cancel out, magiging 1 na lang siya. Ito, 1 over x. Para ma-differentiate natin, take note, 1 over x raised to the power of m is equivalent to x raised to the power of negative m. So, ito, transfer natin sa itaas. Ibig sabihin, magiging x raised to the power of negative 1. So, this is sum and difference rule. Ibig sabihin, we just need to differentiate them individually. So, para dito, ang gagamitin natin is constant multiple rule. That is d over dx of c x raised to n is equivalent to c n x n minus 1. So, ilagay natin dito, class. Constant natin is 3. X natin is x. And then yung ating n is 1. So, n is equivalent to 1. So, para dito, kay 1, we will be using our constant rule. D over dx of c is equivalent to 0. And for this one, x raised to the power of negative 1, we will be using our constant multiple rule. So, that is c is equivalent to 1. Si 1 yung katabi niya dito. X po natin is x. And then yung ating exponent is negative 1. That is n is equivalent to negative 1. Proceed po tayo sa differentiating y prime. Ibig sabihin na derivative of our y is equivalent to, focus tayo dito, ito muna, which is this one. Constant multiple rule tayo. Constant natin is 3. N natin is 1. X natin is x. N is 1 minus 1. Proceed tayo dito. Negative. So, copy natin si negative. 1. That is constant rule magiging 0. Proceed tayo. Positive. So, positive. Proceed tayo dito. That is constant multiple rule. C natin is 1. Ito. N natin is negative 1. So, times negative 1. X natin is x. Then, n natin is negative 1 minus 1. Simplify natin siya, class. That is equivalent to 3 multiplied by 1 is 3. X, 1 minus 1 is x raised to 0 is 1. So, cancel out lang siya. Minus 0. So, also canceled out. Positive 1 multiplied by negative 1 is negative 1. Then, eto, x raised to negative 1 minus 1 is x raised to negative 2. Pwede mo din siyang i-calculator para sure. So, as I have said earlier, wala po dapat tayong negative sa ating final answers. So, rewrite natin ulit, magiging 3 minus, take note, x raised to the power of negative m is equivalent to 1 divided by x to the power of positive m. So, eto magiging 1 divided by x to the power of positive 2. And this will be our final answer. So, that's it for this video. Please subscribe to this channel if you like contents like this. See you sa next videos natin.